What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. Welcome to our daily show where we discuss the fourth stimulus check update, the stimulus package update to $3.5 trillion, money, investing, the stock market, pretty much everything you need to know about, the bipartisan infrastructure package, and the debt limit ceiling, where they're going to need to pass a bill. They're pretty much going to have to come to an agreement between the Republicans and the Democrats to pass a bill in the ceiling in the Senate to pass the debt limit ceiling by October 18th, which is now 14 days away, 2 weeks away, where the government will literally go default for the first time ever. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen says that October 18th is the estimated date that the Treasury will run out of money. That's right. Yeah, so as you can see here from the Wall Street Journal, Janet Yellen, the U.S. Treasury Secretary, says that the Treasury could exhaust all of its cash reserves. The Treasury is using basically a reserve account, a savings account from the U.S. government that had $450 billion of it that they started on August 1st and will now run out of money by or around October 18th is the estimated date if they don't raise the debt limit by that date. That is an estimated date. That doesn't mean it can't happen a day or two before or a day or two after. Janet Yellen and Jerome Powell, the Federal Reserve Chairman, were just giving testimonies before Congress here in the last couple days. And they're going to need to figure this out here within the next 14 days, preferably this week, because the closer we get, the worse it makes everybody feel, and the worse it makes the stock market and the world, and shows the world that the United States might potentially not be able to pay its bills, may not be able to pay the interest on its bonds, may not be able to pay the interest on its debt, and just exacerbates this whole problem and shows to the world that the United States Treasury may not be able to pay its bills. And remember that we've seen both Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, Senator Bernie Sanders, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer have questioned that if this happens, that Social Security checks may be delayed, payments to the military may be delayed, and all sorts of basically everything, any type of money that comes from the government may be delayed, may be in question. The money may not go out because literally the government will run out of money and will not be able to issue new money until the debt limit ceiling is raised. And right now, the Republicans are not coming to an agreement with Democrats. In fact, some headlines say from this one, from Business Insider, that Republicans are gearing up to inflict maximum pain on the Democrats as the debt default deadline inches closer. Yeah, the Republicans kind of have the Democrats by the political what's the word I'm looking for here? You might know the word I'm looking for here. Let me know in the comments if you know the word I'm looking for here. By the stronghold. But the Republicans are gonna have to basically allow the Democrats to do this because we don't. The other option is the Democrats either have to pass it through reconciliation, which we don't know if they're going to have time to do it at this point, or at the very last moment. Even the New York Times is now saying that President Biden may have to ignore the debt limit and mint a $1 trillion coin, or maybe even two or three. Pramila Jayapal, leader of the Democratic Progressive Caucus, has actually proposed this idea in the past to issue stimulus checks. And Pramila Jayapal actually says that it wouldn't add any money to the debt. I'm not sure exactly how that would work. I guess printing money doesn't add to the debt. Again, not my opinion. You could let me know your thoughts on that. But yeah, they're going to have to do something about this within the next 14 days. And as of right now, Republicans are not agreeing in any way, shape, or form with the Democrats. Republicans are not agreeing with the Democrats. Democrats are trying to do anything they can to pass this bill. But as of right now, Republicans are uh, kind of squeezing the Democrats, making them squirm. But let me know your thoughts. The problem with this is that Americans, and our economy kind of is the ones who feel the pain. But yeah, I'll keep you up to date on this. Meanwhile, Pramila Jayapal, a leader of the Democratic Progressive Caucus, which is about 100 Democrats in the House of Representatives, rejects Senator Joe Manchin's $1.5 trillion price tag, saying, quote, that's not going to happen. And they're going to have to compromise now that President Biden has stepped in here within the last like 2 days or so, saying that the stimulus package and the physical infrastructure package are going to be linked. They're not going to pass the physical infrastructure package first, which is a complete turnaround because just about 2 or 3 days ago, they were literally set to vote on the physical infrastructure package. And that package was going to be voted on and be gone. And that has now completely changed. But Joe Manchin was set on this $1.5 trillion package, and he's really getting thrown in the ringer. He was just ambushed on his $700,000 yacht. And Joe Manchin's out in right field. I say right field because he's a right-leaning Democrat, right-leaning as in Republican-leaning. He's a very moderate-leaning Democrat, and one of the few moderate-leaning Democrats. He wants to spend only $1.5 trillion. He's the only Democrat that has come up with this $1.5 trillion number. In fact, there's many, many, many more Democrats that want to spend the full price tag, which is $3.5 trillion. In fact, the House was drafting the bill in the subcommittees at $3.5 trillion. So Joe Manchin just kind of comes up and says, nope, I want to spend $1.5 trillion. And the House is like, but we're drafting the bill at $3.5 trillion. And you just kind of come along and say, but wait, hold on. I want to spend $1.5 trillion. And they're like, where does this guy come up with this number? And many, including a lot of our viewers, are kind of wondering, where does he come up with this number? It's a good question. And here's Senator Bernie Sanders to kind of answer a lot of these questions. Senator Bernie Sanders doesn't like that number either. In fact, he wants to spend $3.5 trillion and doesn't want to budge off this number. Check out what he has to say here. And remember that Senator Bernie Sanders is the Senate Budget Chairman. He's the person largely considered in charge of this entire stimulus package.
Let me start with what apparently the president said behind closed doors to the House Democrats. And he floated the idea that, hey, this number is going to be a little bit lower, 1.9 trillion to 2.2 trillion. Have you accepted the fact that it's not going to be 3.5 trillion?
Chuck, that is, by the way, that is not my understanding of what he said. What he said is there's going to have to be give and take on both sides. I'm not clear that he did bring forth a specific number. But what the president also said, and what all of us are saying, is that maybe the time is now for us to stand up to powerful special interests who are currently spending hundreds of millions of dollars trying to prevent us from doing what the American people want. We want to lower substantially prescription drug costs in this country so we're not paying 10 times more for certain drugs than Canada and other countries. And the pharmaceutical industry has 1,400 lobbyists on Capitol Hill right now trying to stop us. We want to deal with the existential threat of climate change. We want to deal with child care. We want to expand Medicare so elderly people can chew their food, can have hearing aids, can have eyeglasses, and we can pay for this by demanding that the wealthiest people and largest corporations finally start paying their fair share of taxes. That's what this struggle is about. Do we do what the American people want? Do we fulfill what democracy is supposed to be about, or do we bow down to powerful special interests?
What is your preference when you're writing this bill? Look, I know what your initial preference was. You believe 3.5 trillion is the compromise, that you started at 6 trillion. But whatever the number ends up being agreed upon, do you believe in these programs, because there's a large wish list and a set of needs the country has, but you might not be able to do all of them fully funded. Do you believe in trying to do as many of them as you can, and maybe that some of them are smaller programs and you'll vote on them in a couple years to extend the funding, or do you think you got to do 3 or 4 things really well?
Chuck, this is not a wish list. Climate change and cutting carbon emissions has everything to do with whether or not we leave this planet to future generations that is healthy and is habitable. Scientists tell us we got a few years. You want more workers out in the workforce. We need to reform childcare so that 1 million women can come back to work and not have to pay as a family 20 or 30% of their income for childcare. You have to have skilled workforce. We can't have a skilled workforce and do the good jobs that are out there unless we train young people. That's why we want to make community colleges tuition free. So this is not a wish list. This is what the working families of this country want and what the economy needs. The real question is, now, the Republicans, of course, are owned by the pharmaceutical industry and the fossil fuel industry. We don't expect them to do anything. But the question now is whether the Democrats can come together, and I think that we can, to finally do what working families in this country desperately want us to do.
You know, I'm curious, one of the things that we've observed here in our news division is we know we're going to be closer to a deal when we see you and Senator Manchin in the same room with the president. And I'm curious, Senator Schumer apparently had a memo that had the number that Senator Manchin was basically his beginning negotiating number. Was that news to you, or have you known this for a couple of months, where Senator Manchin stood on his red lines?
Well, Senator Manchin has, in fact, been public about talking. I think his number was $1.5 trillion. That's fine. That's a good negotiating start. Manchin has also said that he wants it paid for. I want it paid for. And you can pay for it with a $3.5 trillion bill by finally demanding that the wealthiest people in large corporations start paying their fair share of taxes. As you well know, Chuck, there's a given year when Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk, the wealthiest people in this country, don't pay a nickel in federal income taxes. Large corporations don't pay a nickel. We address that. You could pay for a $3.5 trillion. You could pay for a $6 trillion bill and pay for it completely.
Yeah. So I thought that was interesting. Remember what did Bernie Sanders say there? That he said something like the Republicans are owned by the fossil fuel industry. I thought that was ironic, because here's a story that's in the news right now. Check this out. Senator Joe Manchin clashes with fellow Democrats over fossil fuel demands. Now, remember that Joe Manchin is a Democrat, but of course, a lot of people in the comments here would say he's a dino, a Democrat in name only. And some people in the comment section would call him not even a Democrat, would say he's a Republican, or say he's in the Republicans are paying him off. Check out this article from yesterday, or from yesterday night, actually. Centrist Senator Joe Manchin is insisting that natural gas be allowed to have a central role in President Biden's clean energy agenda, which puts him on a collision course with Democratic lawmakers who will worry he will have the power to water down what they see as a once-in-a-generation opportunity to address climate change. Manchin, the chairman of the Senate Energy and Natural Resources Committee, is pushing to have the sole jurisdiction in the Senate over the $150 billion clean electricity performance program. He's pushing to have the sole jurisdiction on this in the Senate over the $150 billion clean electricity performance program. Gee, imagine that. Which would provide grants to utilities that increase their share of clean energy sources. Joe Manchin is flexing his muscles by calling for natural gas to be a part of Biden's clean energy solution, even though the House Energy and Commerce Committee specifically excluded natural gas from the clean energy program by defining clean energy as having a carbon intensity of less than 0.10 metric tons of carbon dioxide per megawatt hour. When He was asked by The Hill on Thursday whether he would insist on natural gas being part of Biden's clean energy standard. Joe Manchin says, quote, "It has to be." He says, quote, I'm all for all the above, but I'm all for clean energy, but I'm also for producing the amount of energy that we need to make sure we have the reliability, and I'm concerned for all that. It also kind of makes you wonder what Senator Joe Manchin's corporate interests are. Remember, Joe Manchin has long had a lot of corporate sponsors, and really kind of makes you wonder why he pushes for these very specific type of things. Is he being paid from the natural gas industry? It kind of really makes you wonder these type of things. Remember that his daughter has been involved in an EpiPen scandal. Whereas you can see this headline right here, Joe Manchin's daughter played a direct part in the EpiPen price inflation scandal. And honestly, I mean, it just seems to never end with Joe Manchin and corporate sponsors and a lot of this nasty type of stuff here. And it kind of begs you wonder, what are the interests of Joe Manchin and kind of having a lot of these one-off type of interests that nobody else in his party seems to have. These type of interests that make a lot of Democrats, his own party, so to speak, question, why is Joe Manchin the only Democrat that wants to spend 1.5 trillion? Why is he the only Democrat that pushes for these um, kind of often right field type of things? So, but remember, he did do these things with the third stimulus check package, and ultimately he did vote yes, and kind of actually threw in that $10,200 unemployment tax break, which did actually help out millions of Americans. So the question is, where will we end up, and will Joe Manchin be a team player with the Democrats? Will it help this next stimulus package? Will it hurt this next stimulus package? Are the Republicans in Joe Manchin's pocket? Are there corporations in Joe Manchin's pockets? And the question is, what will happen here in the future? And you can let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Remember, I'm just here reporting to you guys what's happening, what's going on, and what's in the news. But literally, this stuff is absolutely crazy. What's going on? Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. And Joe Manchin's in a lot of hot water right now. His own party is literally grilling him. So let me know your thoughts. It's crazy. It's going to be an absolutely crucial week here, as President Biden has stepped in and said we have to figure this out. We have to figure out a price tag on this stimulus package, and we have to pass the stimulus package now before the infrastructure package. So don't miss any videos at this point. Remember, new videos come out here every day on our channel at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will keep you up to date with everything going on in our country in this next stimulus package, Social Security raises, and everything you need to know about. So make sure to subscribe down below if you haven't yet. It's completely free to do so. You can click here to watch my newest stimulus check video next. And this video is how Senator Joe Manchin just got ambushed on his $700,000 yacht. Yeah, that's a crazy video as well. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks, guys, and I will see you in the next video.